This is Johnny with Tiger Bomb MMA, and today I'm going to go over UFC Des Moines, Sandhagen versus Figueiredo. Give you my thoughts, predictions on the entire, how many fucking bouts are on this one? 12 bout card. And I would say about half of them are good. But yeah, I'm going to give you my quick thoughts on this breakdown because I am still tired from last week where I went to UFC Kansas City, which I will talk about in a bit. And then I just got back from WrestleMania, so I'm like, been fucking traveling, so I'm dead ass tired. But yeah, this main event, we get to see where both of these guys are at. With Sandhagen, he's given the vibe of like the perpetual, I don't want to call him a Brunson of the division, like the gatekeeper, but he's given these vibes of like the guy that just can never get past that contender or contender status. And Figueiredo, he was on his way to maybe like slipping his way into the title picture, but the Peter Yan beatdown, and then there's those images of him looking kind of fat, but those were dispelled. He's looking in good shape here, so I'm excited for this main event. There are some really good fights on this card that are going to be entertaining, but then you've got Miesha Tate versus Yana Kunitskaya on here, which is going to suck to talk about. But I'm going to give you my quick thoughts on this. Before we do that, I'm going to give you my very brief thoughts on the UFC Kansas City Machado versus Prates card. I left round number 3. After round number 3 of the main event, I'm like, fuck this. Like, I know where this is headed. I'm going to beat traffic. I know that is hard to say because I spent all this money. But for me, I got my money's worth early. It was a great card. And on top of that, like, I made pretty good money live. And just fading the shit out of Anthony Smith was just the icing on the cake, particularly because everyone around me was like pro Smith, and I was the only one. Actually, let me show you a video real quick of my reaction to when they stopped the fight. Yeah, I kept saying generational wealth, and people did not seem to mind me shitting on their boy. But other than that, like, it was a great card to bet. Live betting was good for me. Like, I took Wellmaker right before he fought. I just felt more confident in him, and I think the odds were still pretty good, like -130. I took him, had him on a parlay by inside the distance. The chalkiest fuck parlay cash with Amarin made it look really easily. I had her in another parlay inside the distance. What's his name? Blackshear easily handling Alatang Haley, and then of course, what's his name? Min Yang Zhang covers as well, so parlay cashed. I did have another inside the distance parlay with Michelle Pereira. I got up to piss during that fight. It was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I said cut both of these guys, but man, the Randy Brown knockout was crazy. I've never heard any crowd be that nuts for Randy Brown. And I swear to you, when I saw Dalby kind of like stretching when they were announcing the names, and this dude was like bouncing on an imaginary dick with his ass, I was like, holy shit, I gotta bet on Randy Brown even more. So he covered easily. It was just a great night. I made like maybe, I think, 8.5 units. Great card. The Prates fight, though, to me, it was just more so Prates was, I don't know what to say about those first 3 rounds. Like, he didn't lose. He didn't lose that fight in the traditional sense. He lost the contest. I mean, he was the closest one to finish. And it's crazy how Gary, despite winning a fight, it still looks like he can be like the weakest top 10, top 5 guy in the world because he's just kind of eking his way through. And, the decision for Gary was always a possibility, but I thought Prates was eventually going to catch him. It just didn't capitalize until late. But yeah, I left early. I think, again, I made the right decision. Like, last time I was there in Kansas City for the Holloway fight versus Arnold Allen, it took me like 3 fucking hours to get out of that goddamn arena because it was like so congested. But yeah, I think I made the right choice going there. But yeah, I'm going to give my quick thoughts on this card here. Starting with, let me just actually close this shit out real quick. Starting with the Juliana Miller versus Ivana Petrovic, and this is at flyweight. Plus 205 for Miller. Comeback on Petrovic is -250. Petrovic is 7-2, so total of 9 fights. Miller is 3-3, total of 3 fights. Now, with Miller, I will say the level of competition, despite 2 losses, is just incredibly higher than Petrovic. And I don't think it's a shame that she lost to, what was her name? Veronica Hardy, and the last opponent, which was Luana Santos. So I don't think those are two bad losses. It's more so the skill level. Where's her skill level at? I do think, despite being 28 years old, she's still not quite there for being like a well-rounded mixed martial artist. And I think she needs to focus on what she does well, which is grappling. I think she is training with like sick jitsu guys, like what's his name? Terrence McKinney, that group down there in the Seattle area. So if she focuses on her grappling, which her grappling is solid, and I do like her output, I like how vicious she is. I actually like her in the spot. I think she can actually get a finish. I think the output she can produce can really either tire out Petrovic. And the thing about Petrovic is that she's just very mid. She only has, 3 more professional fights over Miller, but I think the quality of competition for Miller can kind of make up for that. Yes, Miller is very green. She's just not quite good to be in the UFC quite yet, but she is in the UFC, and given the styles, I think this is a very good style for her. I'm not confident in her, for God's sakes, I'm not, but I do think she can actually get a finish here. If Nali Yang is taking you down and getting good position on you and putting you in submission threats, I think Miller, who can make a fight out of, that's it really, she can make this into a nasty, gritty fight. And even though she got her ass whooped by Luana, the fact that she was still trying to fight, it's very admirable to me. So give me Miller here. I think this is one of those spots where it's like you're undervaluing a girl, like a former tough winner. Give me Miller in this spot. It's women's MMA. It should always be lined a lot closer than it should. Miller was in the same spot with Hardy where she was like a 3-1 favorite almost, and Hardy beat her ass, and it was just the inexperience. Give me Miller with a little bit more seasoning. And I just want to see what she does. For Petrovic, she's also a grappler. She has some kickboxing, but she is mostly going to grapple, and she's just been very unimpressive. If you're losing to girls like Jamie Lynn Horth, and granted, Horth is like a step above a Miller, it just is not a good look. So give me Miller by either TKO or submission in the second round. I just like what her potential could be. And if she comes out here aggressive, moves forward, being okay getting taken down or getting her own takedowns. I mean, if she gets her own takedowns, I think it's going to be a rough night for Petrovic, because I think Miller's just the more dynamic grappler between the two. Moving on, Don'Tale Mayes versus Thomas Petersen. If Thomas Petersen does not win this fight, I don't care how he does it, then Jesus Christ, he's minus 240 here. He has to win. He just got knocked out, but he got knocked out by Big Meal Shamil Gaziev. And Don'Tale did get beat by Gaziev. Don'Tale Mayes' wrestling has improved. I think Petersen, though, his caliber of wrestling is it's just too good for a guy like Mayes. Can he stuff the takedowns? I think he can stuff the double legs, but I think if Petersen goes for a single leg, he can dump him pretty easily, get on side control, and beat his ass. And Petersen's, striking has gotten a little bit better. Just give me Petersen by a decision. I think he absolutely needs to win this fight, and I think he'll do it the way he can with good old-fashioned American wrestling, especially in Iowa. They're going to love that shit. Next bout, Gaston Bolanos versus Kwang Lee. Initially, I was thinking Kwang Lee might be the play here, but when doing more, tape watch on him, granted, I didn't do a whole ton this week. Again, exhausted as fuck. But Kwang Lee, plus 155, he can bang, he can grapple. He trains with John Castaneda, who recently lost as well, using that kind of game plan of like, let's wrestle. And I think Kwang Lee is going to try to wrestle. The problem is, despite Kwang Lee being very dynamic with the punching power and having decent grappling, he does have some submissions on his record, enough for me to think he's a submission threat. Gaston Bolanos is the better striker, and I think he's been putting in the work. And he's 8-4. They're not too far off in age. They're not too far off with the record. It's just the amount of work that I've seen Gaston Bolanos put in, meaning in the grappling and trying to close that gap, has been more impressive to me. And the fact that I think he's the cleaner striker, the faster striker, I believe he's going to win this one within either the first, knockout or decision, essentially, is what I'm thinking. Kwang Lee, if he can possibly get it to the ground and maybe create a moment where he can take the back and the neck of Bolanos, then that'd be impressive. But Kwang Lee striking, the way I kind of put it in perspective when watching him is that, yes, if you give him a guy that he can knock out, he's going to knock him out. But when you give him a guy who has a good chin and a guy who can definitely present maybe better defense, striking defense, head movement, it's going to be tough for him to do so because he's kind of slow. And that's kind of how I view him. Like, he's a destroyer in the regionals, but in the top tier professional league, he has to mix things up, and I do expect him to do so here. I don't know how I don't know how successful he'll be against Bolanos, who the dude looks like he's putting max effort into his training camp, and Kwang Lee is in one of these, like, I need a win. And how is he going to do this? Maybe trying to spam takedowns, which at this point I think Bolanos has definitely closed the gap in that grappling deficiency for him to actually be able to get back up and stuff takedowns. So give me Bolanos by decision. God forbid this fucking fight. We've got Jillian Robertson, like my public enemy number one of no one should be betting Jillian minus 280 ever, because Jillian, just because she's been winning doesn't mean she's not a fucking quitter, and she's not bad. Great grappling, black belt in jiu-jitsu. She can win by top control alone. And Marina, it pains me because Marina's always been a girl that I enjoyed to watch, right? She's plus 230. Anybody betting Marina, I don't blame you, okay? Like, she's very capable of winning this fight with her reach, her height, her striking, her elbows, her clinch game. But anything happens where she falls over, she's not getting up. And ultimately for me, it's like, she's 38. She's, 9 years older. She got beat by a greenhorn in Yasmin Lucindo with some awful takedowns. I think if Jillian can get a single leg, she can get it to the ground. But if Jillian cannot get a takedown, like, this girl sucks, man. Like, she's nothing. She can't do anything on the feet. And Marina's going to pick her apart. I hate this fucking fight completely. But, like, I am rooting for Marina, but realistically, it's going to have to be Robertson wins this one based off of, like, I'd love to say submission. I'd love to say inside the distance, but Marina has never been finished by, like, high caliber jiu-jitsu girls like, what's her face? Oh my God, why am I blanking on her face? Mackenzie Dern. She's never been TKO'd on the ground. So is Jillian going to do that? Maybe this is the carcass of Marina. Just give me Robertson to win this one by, like, the most embarrassingly poor performance of balance from Rodriguez, where she throws a kick and she falls over, and Jillian just lays on top of her for the remaining 2 minutes of the round and she wins it. So give me Robertson by decision, but I want nothing to do with this matchup. Next bout, we've got Azamat Bekoev versus Ryan Loder. Initially, I was on the Loder side because I think Loder is very underrated for, his age. He's 33, but he's a solid guy. He's plus 260. The issue with Loder is he is fighting a guy with very similar, background, more or less, like a wrestling background for Bekoev, more experience for Bekoev. He's minus 360. I don't love that price. I think Ryan Loder's wrestling can make this a very competitive matchup. On the feet, though, Bekoev does have the better striking. I think he's just more fluid on the feet. I think he can maybe get his own takedowns, but not necessarily hold Ryan down. I think if Ryan can create a scramble, he can get up on top. But I think Bekoev is, I don't want to say he's hard to take down, but I think he's kind of hard to keep down. So to me, I think it is maybe in everyone's best interest to stay away from it. I do like the Ryan Loder side, maybe to take a sprinkle on, but I ultimately came down with maybe one of two possibilities. I mean, Bekoev is going to have the harder punches. The issue is with a guy like Ryan Loder kind of mixing in the takedown and wanting to get that. Like, Loder's striking isn't terrible. I know I heard somewhere that he initially was training with Raymond Daniels early on in his career. So he does have that kind of, like, kicking ability, not too extreme, but he's got something on the feet. I think his boxing's gotten a little bit better after his stint on Tough. It's just, again, he needs to get it to the ground, and if Azamat can stuff all the takedowns and he's forced to, strike with Azamat, I think it's going to be clear that Azamat's just cleaner on the feet. So the two possibilities are Ryan does end up getting some top control, but maybe not enough with some damage, and it does go to a hometown, more or less home country decision where Ryan gets it, so thus plus 260 is nice on him. But I do believe, given this being a fight that is judged correctly, I think Bekoev is going to win this one by a decision, maybe a close 29-28. I think Loder can make it very competitive, but I think eventually Bekoev is going to win, but I don't think he's going to look like he covers that price tag. That's kind of my thought, because this is a guy that I am not high on. I can appreciate his skills. I can appreciate he trains at an American top team, so I'm expecting him to look good. But the thing is, this guy comes in here and he has a bit of trouble with Zach Reese. He is a guy who kind of went 50-50 in LFA with Dylan Budka, where he couldn't take Budka down. And, Bekoev is I don't want to call him like a Marab style of grappler. Like he's not the cleanest takedown guy. He's not the best wrestler, but he just max efforts a lot. He can hold you against the cage, and he's kind of tough to take down. So I think if this becomes a striking matchup, he'll be throwing the harder shots, but I'm just incredibly curious about this one. This is probably one I'm going to for sure highlight and keep an eye on. Next bout, we've got Yana Santos versus Miesha Tate. I hate to say it, but Tate wins this one by decision or submission late. I like the fact that Yana's been more active. I like the fact that Yana's been doing her thing. Like, she's in really good shape. Miesha's also in pretty good shape. Minus 130 for Miesha Tate. I just hate these fights where like one takedown could be the deciding factor. And my initial thought was like Yana might be live here at plus 110. Like I like those odds for a girl who is, again, more active. The thing is, she just fought Chelsea Chandler, couldn't finish the bitch. And we just saw Chelsea get knocked out by another girl who barely finishes anybody in Jocelyn Edwards. So how bad is Yana's striking? I think she can maybe overwhelm Miesha, but I don't trust Santos not to overwhelm her and get too close where Miesha can take her down. And we've seen Yana get taken down and controlled by Holly Holmes. So if Miesha can get her down, which she will, and I've been seeing some tape on her like live and on Instagram, her takedowns are looking pretty powerful. And Mama Tate at this point, I don't love the line. I don't love the fact that it's Miesha Tate, but Miesha has been a championship caliber fighter, and Yana has not. Yes, Yana has fought very similar competition. She fought Cyborg and fucking Holly Holm and whatnot, but she's never looked like she can contend with those people, and Tate has. So give me Tate to win this one by a decision or late submission. Next bout, we've got main card opener Jeremy Stephens fighting for one last time in his home state and hometown of Des Moines, Iowa. Plus 360 come back on the returning Mason Jones, which this is like, man, he should have never left, but it shows you that guys that maybe didn't feel like they were quite ready in the UFC. Because if you think about it, man, like Mason came in, he fought Onama, he went to a close fight with him, then he lost to what's his name, Davis, I forget his first name, something Davis. I don't want to call him Anthony Davis, fuck, whatever. And then he went to a no contest with Nuget, and then Ludovic Klein schooled him. And I think him getting schooled by Ludovic Klein, a guy moving up from 145, made him think like, yo, maybe I'm not quite UFC ready yet, because if I continue to fight in the UFC, I might go 50-50 with these guys because they're the high level. Let me go back to, the regionals, the Cage Warriors, and beat the shit out of a bunch of guys, get my confidence back up, and then come back to the UFC. Dude's only 30 years old, and the guy is very well-rounded, and I think he's going to maul Jeremy Stephens. There's a reason Jeremy Stephens is doing bare knuckle. When he was doing anything but bare knuckle, he was going pretty poor with his record. He's getting submitted. He's getting finished. Like, I think Jones is just too well-rounded for him. He's got the judo background. His striking is highly questionable at times, but he does present a ton of pressure here. If Jones wants to make an example of like, hey, I'm not going to be beat by Jeremy, he's going to go in there and put the pressure on him, take him down. I will say Jeremy Stephens' boxing has improved from a guy who lost to Chris Avila in boxing, for God's sakes, to then like knocking dudes out in like Eddie Alvarez's of the world. He is definitely improving. I heard him talk in the Jackson podcast how he's like fallen in love with boxing and all the things he didn't know and wish he knew, which gives me a bit of confidence that this fight will not go the distance. Mason has he's got a good chin. He's very durable. It's just Mason covers him everywhere. Maybe not in the boxing, but everywhere else. If he wants to take him down, he can destroy him there. Give me Mason within 2 rounds. He can either submit him or TKO him. But I think Mason is the right play here. I think Mason inside the distance is probably what I'm going to parlay. Next bout, we've got Cameron Smotherman, plus 130, come back on Siri City, minus 155. My initial thought was, Siri can't box worth the shit, give me Cameron. After watching more Cameron, his boxing is definitely clean. I just don't think it has that umph I need from a guy to knock out like Sidey. Sidey, I did have a bit of a misinterpretation of that Garrett Armfield fight. I thought Garrett was robbed, and when going back and rewatching it, like the thing I do like about Siri, and maybe I kind of feel bad for not seeing it earlier. The guy is a dog. Like he can get battered, and he will do his best to try to come back. Like the Tavares second fight. Like he did get his ass beat. He ended up losing that one, but he made it competitive. And that was like a cursed night for all the Canadians in Canada. And then his fight with Armfield, similar kind of thing happened. Like he's not looking great, but he mixes things up well. Like I like the way he mixes things up. He's not just a one-dimensional striker. He throws knees, elbows. He can go for submissions. And I think I saw that he was training partial camp at the lab, so I'm expecting him to look better and continue to level up. So I'm on the Sidey side at this point. I think he can win this one by knockout. More than likely, he can decision this kid. Smotherman, being primarily a boxer, I do expect him to kind of be lead leg heavy. I expect low kicks from Sidey, kicks from the outside. The problem with Sidey, though, is that his boxing is a bit shit. And if Smotherman does want to throw heat, then it might be a different story, but I like the Sidey side at this point. So give me Sidey by a decision. I actually think this is going to be a very good fight. Possibly could steal fight of the night. Moving on, we've got Montel Jackson minus 200. Come back on Daniel Marcos plus 170. I'm on the Jackson side. And quite simply is like Jackson can win this fight in a majority of different ways. He can knock out Marcos. He can decision Marcos, and I think he can get him down and control him and eventually submit him. It's just the issue with Jackson is, does he know that? He sometimes fights like he doesn't know how good he is. The dude is very good. His striking's very good. So there's always a possibility. I don't think Marcos is going to get like destroyed here. Marcos is fucking good. From the beginning, from first introduction in the UFC, I'm like, this guy's got something. He's got good takedown defense. The guy has very good striking, does not waste any energy. The guy has beautiful vision of what's coming towards him. He's got good defense. He's a very good fighter. So I'd be incredibly impressed if he beats a guy like Jackson. But Jackson's been beating himself before. But if Jackson comes in at his like most full potential, this guy can hurt Daniel Marcos. This guy can look fucking minus 500 against Daniel Marcos. The thing is that when Jackson kind of like isn't quite what's the best way to say it? Like when he's fucking around, I suppose, in his personal life, he's not taking shit seriously. Daniel Marcos can come in here and beat the shit out of him, I'll just say. But give me Marcos. That's the way I kind of see it. Like he should win this one. He's going to be too quick, longer reach. He's got the wrestling ability. It's just, man, Montel needs to start putting shit together. This guy's 33, and in the bantamweight division, high hopes for this guy were at one point. Like this guy could have been fighting for a title or a title contender. The guy's just kind of been taking his time. He's got some good names on his record too. Like he just beat Damon Blackshear with one punch, the only man to actually finish Blackshear. So I want to see what he can do against Marcos. You know, I like Marcos a lot, but I do think that we need to see how he does against a guy like Jackson. Super well-rounded, super dangerous. So yeah, give me Jackson in this point. Next bout we've got, is this the co-main? No, not quite yet. Welterweight Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Daniel Rodriguez. Minus 130 Rodriguez, come back on Ponzinibbio, plus 105. It's tough because we do have two guys that are at the nearing end of their careers, both 38. Ponzinibbio, massive power. What I'll say about the guy, his chin is highly questionable. And that's the thing. Like, he can take a shot. He will come back from the dead and keep fighting. But there's going to be a time where he's going to get hit clean again. He ain't getting back up. Rodriguez, good boxing. He's kind of been looking a lot slower, more tankier. And that fight against him and Morano was not a good look. The thing is that if he does land a shot on Ponzinibbio, I think he can hurt him and finish him. So it just really depends who has more left in the tank. It does look like Ponzinibbio has more fighting spirit. I just don't know if that fighting spirit is taking him to like slight victories. You know, like his fight with Harris. I thought Harris was beating his ass up until the finish at the end, which I kind of thought was a little early, not egregiously early, but still a little early. But nah, the judges gave Ponzinibbio, I believe, the first 2 rounds, even though he got dropped. So I'm like, what are the judges liking about him? And it's just his activity. Like he presents these dudes with like a lot of volume and just moving forward and just being active. Like he has that warrior spirit. And Rodriguez, he's been looking a lot slower. He's definitely not the same dude, but he's still got that punching power. This dude can still crack. He can still grapple. I'm gonna lean with Rodriguez. I think that if he does plant a shot on Ponzinibbio, he'll go down. I want to see what he looks like in the weigh-ins. If he's maybe a little trimmer, I will probably put a little bit of money on Rodriguez. But give me Rodriguez by knockout in the first 2 rounds. I think it could be entertaining. Of course, I can see Ponzinibbio winning it just based off of that activity. Again, like when I'm comparing both of these guys, their skill sets are very similar. I think Daniel's got the better boxing. Santiago's maybe got the better, well-rounded striking. Like his boxing's very good, but I think Daniel's got a little bit more of the classical boxing. Like neither one is good or bad. It's just slightly different. With Ponzinibbio, the kicks are going to be there. Daniel Rodriguez can maybe mix in some takedowns. I'm just very curious as to see which version of which guy shows up. I think Ponzinibbio, again, I'm measuring his heart and his determination, which is like probably going to lead him to a victory mainly off of that. Whereas Rodriguez's ability to like just fucking tank a shot and hit him back going to get him this victory. So give me Rodriguez at this point. Not confident, but again, if I see him in pretty good shape, I might take a shot on him. Next bout, Rainier de Ritter, plus 225. Come back on Bo Nickal, minus 280. I hate to say it, but Bo Nickal is probably going to win this one by a decision or TKO. De Ritter, I've been riding the De Ritter train since his UFC debut. I went all in on him versus Gerald Meerschaert, and maybe that wasn't the prettiest look, but he got the job done. Like, this guy is a legit fighter. And then I went, and I think I put like a unit or two on him versus Kevin Holland at middleweight. Made it look really easy. So I've been riding the De Ritter train. And Bo Nickal, yes, he did look kind of shit in his last fight against Paul Craig. Paul Craig is a very dangerous triangle guy. Bo Nickal is still between the two the better athlete. Bo Nickal between the two is the better wrestler. Bo Nickal between the two is the faster of the two. I think Bo Nickal can either, again, just bullshit his way to a decision victory where he can get takedowns on De Ritter, maybe attack the body, or it's hard to say that De Ritter's going to get TKO'd. De Ritter's tough, man. The only loss is to, was it Vitali? Anatoly Malikin, and Malikin is just a beast, freak of nature. And in both of those fights, like he tanked a ton of the shots from Malikin. It's just he just could not take those shots anymore. Like shit, if Bo Nickal was in there with him, I would not expect him to fare any better. So for me, I think Bo Nickal's just going to be the faster, more athletic guy of the two. De Ritter's very awkward. De Ritter can strike. De Ritter can grapple. He's very dangerous. But again, I think that lack of athleticism from him here, that awkwardness and goofiness, and again, the ability for Nickal to maybe take him down, he's going to be safe. Bo Nickal's not going to be fucking around in the guard of De Ritter. He's going to be landing his shots from the outside and just getting the takedowns, and he's going to either be very safe or he might take a few chances later on, round number 2, round number 3, and try to beat the shit out of De Ritter. But if De Ritter catches him, it's going to be fucking awesome. But yeah, give me Bo Nickal by a decision. I feel pretty comfortable that he's going to win either or, TKO decision. Next bout, main event, we've got Corey Sandhagen minus 450. Come back on Figueiredo plus 320. Ultimately, I'm going with Sandhagen by decision. I think Sandhagen, he's too big. Sandhagen, he has fought quite possibly everybody in this division. He has not fought Figueiredo. Obviously Figueiredo, the former 125 champ. I don't see how Figueiredo is going to attack Sandhagen. Is he going to take him down? Is he going to control him off of his back? Like, I love Figueiredo, man. Like, he's been fun to watch at bantamweight, but like, eventually when he reaches that high level of guys in this division, I always knew, man, there's going to be that one guy that's going to give him the trouble. I early on thought it was going to be those 3 dudes, fucking Chito Vera, fucking Cody. Even Cody gave him a bit of a fucking scare. Like, Cody beat him. It took 1 round from him in that fight, and then I thought Rob Font was going to have a good success with the length, but Corey is still very young, 33, and I think Corey is very determined to prove where he's at in this division. And minus 450 kind of sucks. I probably am going to parlay him, but I just don't see how he loses this fight. He's never been knocked out. I know he's been choked out, but I think he's leveled up tremendously. And in this situation against Figueiredo, a much smaller guy with a significantly, it's crazy how much smaller that reach is. Not how, what am I saying here? It's crazy how not huge of a difference there is in reach. 70 for Sandhagen and 68 for Figueiredo. It's just that how is he going to reach his fucking chin? Is he going to hit him to the body? Sandhagen's going to be throwing knees, whatever the fuck he wants to do. I'm intrigued, right? Like if a guy like Prime, maybe a little too young, what the hell's his name? John Lineker could not knock out Corey Sandhagen. I don't know if Figueiredo can. So I'm interested to see if I'm proven wrong about this, but I don't think I am. So give me Corey Sandhagen by a decision here. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you're going to UFC Des Moines, probably be up in the fucking nosebleeds because I got to the tickets really late. But yeah, leave a like, comment, whatever, subscribe. Johnny Tiger Bomb MMA, and I will see you in the next card.